and squares. It's yet another edition of Play On with Jorey and Harley. I'm Jorey. He, the balder guy, is Harley, the professional, off a professional week, which we'll hear about momentarily. As always, we're powered by PointsBet, the official sportsbook of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, NBC, and so much more. It's an NFL Week 10, and there's always more edition of the program. We're with you each and every Thursday live from the Bottom Line on Front Street in downtown Toronto, literally right beside the Hockey Hall of Fame and the professionals' go-to spot for wings. What'd you have last week, by the way? You went Korean barbecue, didn't you?
No, I actually had a chicken club because if you walk to the back and you see the wait staff on break, they're always eating the chicken club here, and the chicken club is excellent and a healthier choice for those that want to make healthier choices.
With or without the bacon?
With bacon.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay now.
Oh, that's okay?
Diets, Atkins diets, you name it. It's the bread that's the problem, not the bacon.
I'll take your word for it. Come down anytime except tonight because there happens to be a private event tonight.
Poker for charity.
Say
children. Gambling for the kids.
That's always a good thing. Gambling.
Kids gambling.
No, yes.
Gambling bad. Gambling for charity for kids good.
You were going to be getting that email. So except for tonight, come down, say hi, enjoy the wings, the chicken club, drinks, great atmosphere, a million screens, just a really, really good vibe down here at the Bottom Line. So what's on today's show? As I mentioned, Week 10 of the NFL. We'll cover it as we always do. And we'll remind you, we're not going to talk about every single game. I'm going to highlight the games that stood out for me on the scab, both early, late, and we'll always talk about the primetime games because they're standalone. Harley will make picks. I haven't decided if I'm making a pick just yet this week after a couple weeks off. We'll also talk about everything else going on the sporting calendar, if Harley likes it. NHL, big busy night tonight in the National Hockey League. Lighter night in the NBA, 4 games. Could be a college football pick. You just never know, and that's why you need to tune in. Corey Travers, head trader at PointsBet Canada, will be along for his weekly visit. And I think this is going to make 3 weeks in a row, Harley. Teddy Greenstein, senior editor and player development manager for PointsBet USA, and the head dude at the Hustle newsletter, is back again this week, and he was good. He was 3-1 overall.
We're going to discuss this 2-0 college, and there's a college game this week I'd like to get to.
Okay. There could also be a gambling story of the week, which we do on occasion.
There is?
Oh, there is a gambling story of the week?
Just a little tidbit.
Okay, well, we're going to do that in a minute then.
For sure.
Because Teddy's not always right on time, but we shall find out. If you want to get in touch with us, and we certainly encourage you to do so, send us your questions, your comments, feedback, your picks, whatever it may be. You can reach out to either one of us on Twitter. I'm at Jorey Middle, and that's Jorey for the first part. Harley is at Sharp Edge Picks, easy to spell. You can also email us, playon@pointsbet.ca. We'll have to ask the social media man at PointsBet Canada, Seb, to check on the emails. I'm not sure if you remembered for this week. Now, before we get to the gambling story of the week and talk to Teddy, we got to recap last week's picks, which I'm sure you're excited to do because you had a solid week.
I did have a solid week. I entered the week down 0.57 units. I lost 0.2 units on the same game parlay. The Eagles' last touchdown drive in the fourth put them over their total, hence the breaks. I won a unit on Saturday as Georgia outplayed the Vols. Their D was amazing.
Really was. I saw big chunks of that game. Yeah. They were the better team.
Definitely.
Although it was a sweat late. It was a sweat into the fourth. There was a backdoor opportunity.
It was a backdoor opportunity, but I was in control for most of the game.
Agreed.
And definitely had the sharper side. I lost 1.07 units. I got crushed on my underbet in the Dolphins-Bears. That game was pretty much over by halftime.
There were 7 or 8 early games last week. I think it was 7.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it might have been 8. Anyway, every game went under except 2. Yours being one of them.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the
Mine
numbers
got
overall.
shellacked, but I did win on.
And that was arguably the best game of the week.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Oh, it was a great game.
Yeah, and then I won Monday Night Football. The Ravens dominated the Saints. I made 0.73 units for the week net. I am up 0.16 units since we started doing this podcast, powered by PointsBet way back in August. Again, if you're a small recreational bettor, $10 per unit, you're up $1.60, or a cup of coffee, a small coffee at Tim's. Starbucks wouldn't even let you in the door.
No,
but I'm still up. And it's a reminder, Jorey, PointsBet wants us and you to enjoy your gambling experience. But if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call the Connects. I'm going that way today. Connects Ontario helpline at 1-866-531-2600, or message PointsBet's amazing customer support, and they will help you personally. What I didn't hear there, and I thank you, is I'm down, 4-point-something units? 4.07 units, but if you don't make a bet and you don't want to raise it, just sit on the sidelines.
I'm waiting for that 2-3 unit play. There may be something this week. This week. All right, so I'm getting the signal. So we'll hold off the gambling story of the week momentarily. Those watching on video, yes, we're popping in our earphones so we can hear the great Teddy Greenstein, Senior Editor and Player Development Manager at PointsBet USA. And I'm going with Chief Bottle Washer this week at the Hustle newsletter. Good day, Teddy.
What's up, guys? It's sad to see it so dark there. Same thing here in Chicago, man. It's coming, but we did have a nice day today, and I think the weather in our part's going to be a lot better than it is in Carolina tonight.
Yeah, the weather here is phenomenal. I know, the Sunday game in Chicago looked like it was first week of September, and I'm sure you have a little pep in your step after a 3-1 week with us last week on your picks.
Yeah, that was all right. Davis Mills went under both of those college games. I like Texas. What was the other college game I hit? I guess I got to look. But we're on to a new week, so we got to get some more winners for you.
It was Auburn, and Harley wants to jump in here about your college plays.
Yeah, you did good with Auburn, Teddy. I want your thoughts on LSU this week. A road favorite. The public's backing them after upsetting Bama. Reeks of a letdown to me. What do you think?
Total stay away from me. I mean, I love that LSU team, but there's no way I'm going to lay 3 or 3.5 after what transpires. For me, they're college kids, and when in doubt, you pick them to fade the week after in an emotional game like that. So, I think the quote-unquote smart money is certainly going to be on Arkansas. That's one of those lines, the latest line we've seen now in college, that quote-unquote, doesn't make sense to the public. And when it doesn't make sense, there is a reason. Texas was the one last week where the public was saying, wait a second, Kansas State is favored by 5 or 6, right? Oh, no, wait, Texas is favored at Kansas State, and Texas was the play. So I think it's either Arkansas or stay away. Are you in agreement there?
I usually give my college bets at the end of the show, but yeah, I'm going to be taking Arkansas plus 3.5. Home dog. I can't imagine those kids at LSU doing anything remotely resembling practicing football this week. It's just a tough spot.
All right, and we'll get the recap of that a little later, and maybe a little more handicapping info from Harley when he gives non-NFL picks later in the show. So one of the things we're doing this week, Teddy, is we're doing kind of the NFL midseason review. There is no official midpoint anymore, as you're well aware, with a 17-week sked. But at this point, every team has played either 8 or 9 games. So I feel safe in doing a little look at where things stand at this point in the season. We're going to do a little division by division. We're going to look at any future value, because obviously the odds have changed since the beginning of the year, and some dramatically. But one of the things that we're noticing, and there's been a ton of just god-awful primetime games.
Yes. But
scoring's way down. The league is really bunched up. There's really no great standout teams. And we know the league is set up for everybody to go formerly 8-8, now I guess 8-9 or 9-8. But is that actually good for this league?
It's good if you're a Jets fan, and you haven't had much to cheer about lately. And, there was a large gap between games I attended. It was the AFC Championship game against Indianapolis. It was so long ago, I can't remember the year. So I'm certainly enjoying this season. But it is wild when you look at it. You see, that the Jets are a 6-win team. That, Tennessee Titans, just well-coached, grinding out 5 wins and an easy cover against the Chiefs. And then you have Tampa and the Rams, who are absolutely awful. And I cannot believe that the Rams just let Tampa score at the end of that game last week. So It is goofy. It's sort of the opposite of college football. Now this year is going to be the one rare one where Clemson and Alabama don't make the playoffs. But, that had been every season, basically the same teams. The NFL is totally different from that. And I think it's pretty healthy. If you make the right decisions, if you draft well, if you develop players well and coach them up, almost any team can make the playoffs at the start of a season.
So have you taken a look at the future book at the moment? Odds to win Super Bowl, conference, division, anything stand out in terms of value? Because we're on record as saying we're rarely ever betting a favorite, one of the top 4 or 5 choices on a future bet. We're looking for value. Anything stand out for you?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins plus 1,200 to win the AFC. I think that's the play. Especially if Josh Allen is not 100%. The Chiefs can be had. We see it time and time again. The Chiefs can be had at home. Tennessee with, barely, you want to compare the personnel of the Titans to the Chiefs? You can't even. The Chiefs are so much more talented, and they still had to rally with Patrick Mahomes, scrambling for his life on 3rd down. So I think the Dolphins in the AFC could be really tough. And then in the NFC, I'm going to go with Seattle at 20-1 and hope that they get into the playoffs and win a game, and then maybe you can hedge out of it, because I don't think anybody's going to be better than the Eagles, 49ers, or Cowboys.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to picks for this week, unless you wanted to jump in with something else, Harley.
Oh, no, I think the Vikings would object to the classification that the Cowboys are on a superior level to them.
God, you would take the Vikings right now to win the NFC? I wouldn't take them at 15-1, let alone plus 500.
Oh, no, I'm just saying I would bet the Vikings over the Cowboys on a neutral field.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. By the way, guys, I know a couple weeks ago we forgot about this. I have 3 pros versus Joe's games if you're interested. So I don't want to be remiss there.
Sorry, Teddy, we lost you for about 5 seconds. Just repeat yourself.
A couple weeks ago, we ended the hit without talking about the pros versus Joe's games. And I have 3 of those if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Yes, hit us up with that.
I know my audience. I know my teammates over here. First one, Giants -5 against the Texans. Giants are the public favorite, and the Texans are the are loved by the sharps. 76% of handle. And I don't know if it's just a case of, the Giants have, they lost their safety, Xavier McKinney, and maybe people just feel like the Giants, sure they win, but it's winning close games. And for whatever reason, the sharps like the Texans here.
Before you get into the other 2, I've been told by many people sharper than me in this world, in this betting world, that 5 and 5.5 is sort of like a non-actual spread. And I know those that say when you see that number, you just blindly take the dog.
That line was actually 6. That line was actually 6.5, 7,
okay.
and
so it's come down.
Only dropped because of the injuries he's suggesting. I agree with Teddy. I was eyeing the Texans. Once the line dropped, I didn't like it as much.
Yeah.
Teams like the Giants that don't score a lot and aren't proven laying big points that's just a disaster. That's a good way to go pro.
Okay. And do you subscribe to that 5 if it's an opening 5.5? Do you believe in that theory?
For me, no. I don't. I've never even thought about it. So I can't subscribe yet. I would have to read some of the issues before subscribing.
Take a look at that, because you don't see a lot of 5s or 5.5s, right? It's something you may only see once every couple weeks. So get back to us on that. What were the other 2 pros versus Joe games?
Another one, Titans -3 against the Broncos, where The public likes the Titans. Obviously, saw them perform well against the Chiefs, overperform that 12.5-point line. And whereas the Sharps like the Broncos, coming off extra rest, a very, very good defense. And, who knows what the Titans quarterback situation is, but we do know that the Broncos defense is probably the best unit of the four in this game. So sharp money on Denver as, it's in that 3-2.5 spot right now.
And was there a third that we might have missed when we lost you for a few minutes?
One is not as extreme, but Dolphins, Browns, public on the Dolphins. Obviously the public loves passing teams. Saw what that team did against the Bears last week, and the Broncos, getting the Browns getting 3.5. About a little over half the handle is on the Browns, whereas 70% of the tickets are on the Dolphins. Browns looked fantastic against Cincinnati. Defense totally gelled, so I understand this one as well.
Yeah, because I looked at that one and the line kind of stood out for me. And yes, the Browns were coming off that win over Cincy and then a week off. But yeah, the line seemed low. Seemed to me the odds makers are still not fully trusting the Dolphins. So we got pros versus Joes. We got a couple future plays. Any other picks for us this week before we say goodbye?
Yeah. So in the hustle, I'm all over, Cordell Patterson tonight. I'm surprised his rushing total is not higher. I've got him to score a touchdown, -105. If you want to be riskier, +475 on first touchdown scorer via PointsBet. And then my college picks this week, Navy +15.5. I think this is really good. Notre Dame doesn't throw the ball well. Notre Dame has to win by rushing the ball, and Navy has a good rush defense. Should be a low-scoring game. And back to Tulane. Won with Tulane a few weeks ago. Still an undervalued team, so Tulane giving 1.5 points against UCF.
Yeah, sorry, repeat that one again.
That one is Tulane giving 1.5 over UCF.
Tulane.
So Tulane and Navy are my college picks this week.
All right. Well, we wish you luck. Hopefully you can repeat or even improve upon your 3-1 performance of last week. And as I like to say, thanks for the time and knowledge, and we'll hope to speak to you next week if you're not off gallivanting, golfing, or entertaining VIPs.
We shall see. Have a great night, guys.
Take care, Teddy.
Thanks. Teddy Greenstein, Senior Editor, Player Development Manager at PointsBet USA, and the man at the Hustle newsletter. If you're listening to us in the U.S., you're in a state where sports wagering, single game wagering is legal. Open up your PointsBet USA account. You'll get access to the Hustle newsletter. It's short, it's concise, and it's entertaining.
Yeah, it's a good read.
All right. Let's do quickly the gambling story of the week before we get into our NFL midseason review. What is it?
Mind-boggling numbers continue out of New York.
Oh, in terms of the handle and
so 10 months in, they're averaging $1.3 billion a month in betting handle. A month. A whopping 8.5% margin. Remember, this is a low margin business. Vegas, 5 points. They're doing 8.5, and the state takes half in tax. The state is making $56 million per month off of sports betting. I would probably take those numbers from Ontario for a year and be thrilled with it. So New York State, the highest tax region, 50%, still performing. They allow advertising. They allow bonuses. They got it right, and they are crushing it.
Quick follow-up.
Yes.
The margin of, what'd you say,
8.5%.
8.5%. That suggests what we've been talking about since we started this podcast, the prevalence of props, parlays, right? Where the book
100%.
is right. That's where that number's coming from.
Of course, that's where it's coming from.
Right?
Young people want to bet props, and they want to bet same-game parlays, and they enjoy the entertainment value of it. And if you're betting $5 and $10 on a bunch of things, and you lay a little extra juice for your entertainment, so be it. Just play within your means.
No, but that number just, when you said it, it hit me right in the forehead. Going, whoa!
Yeah.
But it makes sense, right?
That's
And that's why I asked the question, because that's got to be where it's coming from, right?
Of course, that's where it's coming from. Yeah.
We're ready for our NFL midseason review.
Oh, I'm ready.
Now, again, we don't talk a lot about what we're, the finite details we're going to get into on the show. We're just talking generalities. I don't know who you're picking. And so I assumed, and I believe correctly, that when we talked about the NFL midseason review, you were going to look at futures, where there might be value, how the odds have changed. So
Correct.
What stood out for you?
So these are the point spread odds to win the Super Bowl as of now.
The PointsBet. Is it PointsBet?
PointsBet futures. The Bills plus 325. That has not moved today or over the last couple of days, even as we know Allen is likely injured and out for a week. Bills are still the favorite, rightfully so. They got the best plus minus. They got the most talent in the league. Then the Eagles and Chiefs are each 5-1. The Eagles are obviously, to this point, the most dominant team, especially in the NFC. Chiefs and Mahomes have the pedigree. Then we got to drop off to what we'll call the 4 tier 2 teams. The Ravens and Niners at 12-1. The Ravens with Lamar and Harbaugh, pretty seasoned, pretty good. The Niners, who have some history.
I know, and they're 4-4.
I know, but their division is nothing special. They're 12-1. Cowboys and Vikings are each 14-1.
That's about right.
Vikings look like they should cakewalk in their division. The Dallas at 14-1 is, I think, an inflated Dallas number in the sense that they ain't winning the division.
Unlikely.
They've already lost to the Eagles
Once,
2 games behind. It doesn't look good. Then we got Brady's Bucks at 17-1.
Whoa.
And
that's a lot of faith still in
And
Brady.
then we got to drop. Listen, it's also their division stinks.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to
Yes.
conceive of them
They're
not winning
tied
the
for
division.
first at 4-5.
Right, and once they win their division, they host a game, and then it's 3 more games. So that's the rundown of the odds and my quick analysis. If you want, I can give you my value pick. If you want, you can talk a little bit more about whatever it is you want to talk about, and then you can get where I think there's value.
No, I want your value picks now, and then I'll talk about a few things.
I got one value pick, and it's the Titans at 50-1.
50-1.
50-1 to win the Super Bowl. For starters, they are going to win their division. They're 3-0 in their division.
Yeah, they have a 2.5 game lead.
They got a solid lead on mediocre teams. I think the second place team just fired their coach and benched their quarterback.
And hired a guy out of Jeff Saturday.
Like, fuck.
They're 3-5-1.
Yeah, maybe somebody will bang on the door and ask one of us if we want to coach a sports team next week. That would be kind of cool.
Can you lead men?
I can lead men. So if you look at the Titans' road, they got a home game. Probably a second home, possibly a second home game, depending on the standings. Likely a road game, and then the Super Bowl. So if you run the math on the 4 games, if you think they're 55% at home, 45%, and then 30% and 30%, you got an edge. They'd be closer to like 20% in Buffalo and maybe 25% in KC, but maybe they get lucky. If they played a team like the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, they wouldn't be a big dog to the Cowboys. I like the Titans. I like their tight defense. I think they got a workhorse running back. It's a great formula to pull off. How do you pull off an upset on the road, especially in January? Look, good teams are Baltimore, Buffalo, KC. Mid-January, the NFL playoffs are pushed back. You're talking about mid and late January in Buffalo, Baltimore, and KC. Cold, windy, snow. If I got Henry running the ball and I got a defense, I'm a break or two away from pulling off an upset. I like their chances.
They have been highly seeded at home field in the last couple playoffs, and they have shit the bed, in particular Ryan Tannehill, because yes, you want to be able to run the ball, but we've seen in the NFL playoffs, if you can't throw the ball and score points when you need them, it's tough to win.
That's a little harsh. They went to the AFC Championship game a couple of years ago as a big dog. They won in Baltimore and they almost won in KC.
And
last year, what did they lose? They lost to the Super Bowl representative Cincinnati Bengals by a field goal, I believe.
At home.
That's not horrible.
No, I know, but
game.
Tannehill was dreadful in that game.
That's fine, and they still only lost by a field goal to the team that won in KC. Yeah. So they did as good as KC did against Cincy.
I'm not disagreeing with them as a value play at 50-1. As I always tend to say, I'm just stating facts.
Okay. I'm going to check the tape.
Is there anybody else?
No. I keep it close. I'm good enough with that.
You're good enough with that?
Yeah.
What'd you think of Teddy's 20-1 for the Seahawks? I think it was to win the NFC, right? Or was it to win the Were the Seahawks 20-1 to win the NFC or the Super Bowl?
There's no way they could be 20-1 to win the Super Bowl.
Correct. It's got to be to win the NFC.
I mean, listen, if they can win the division, life is good.
Right. But you expect the Niners to win that division.
I mean, the Niners seem to be the class of the division.
I don't disagree. The Rams are in a world of hurt.
The
Cardinals are meh.
They're 3-6. Yeah, the Seahawks are 6-3.
I know.
The Niners are 4-4. They've already lost them to them. Yeah. So look at the schedule. Even though it's 6-3,
Niners beat Seattle, or the
Niners
opposite?
beat Seattle.
Yes,
Seattle's
they played once.
home to San Francisco on Thursday, December 15th. Oh, that'll be a prime time game that we'll actually enjoy discussing. And that'll be kind of for the division and largely Teddy's hopes and dreams of Geno Smith.
Okay. So I want to just talk about some numbers.
Go for it.
Okay. At this quasi midseason point.
Okay.
First, the best and worst teams against the spread, right?
Go for it.
We're bettors. That's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And you can compare it to their actual straight up record. The best 3 teams are 6-2 against the spread. And interestingly enough, it's Tennessee, who's 5-3 straight up, Dallas and the Giants, who are both 6-2 straight up and against the spread.
Okay.
At 6-3, you have the Jets, the Bengals, the Falcons, who at one point I think were 5-0 against the spread, and the Seahawks. Seahawks are 6-3, Jets are 6-3, Cincy's 5-4, Atlanta's 4-5. That's the only one where there's a bit of a discrepancy between the straight ups and the against the spread. Who do you think the worst team against the spread is, or the worst 2?
Well, Carolina was bad, so I'm assuming they're still bad.
They're close. They're in the second tier of worst against the spread. They're 3-6. But if you had a little bit time to think about it, you'd come up with it easy. And Teddy alluded to it. Tampa, 2-6-1, right? And the Rams are 2-5-1.
Well, they both disappointed, and they haven't had a lot of wins.
And the odds makers have kept faith, right, up until this point in the season.
Yes, they have.
The 3-6 teams are New Orleans, Carolina, Green Bay, another one where the bookies have sort of kept their faith until this week.
And then
last
they dropped off a cliff. This week it just dropped off a cliff.
I know.
In your wildest dreams are the Cowboys a 5. If I told you
before the season,
you're like, oh, Aaron Rodgers must have been hit by a car.
Right. No, it looks like he's
just playing
hit
like
over
he was
the head or something.
He's playing like he got hit by a car.
The 3-6ers are New Orleans, Carolina, Green Bay, Indy, and Jacksonville. And I'm pointing this out because, right, that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. You got almost half the teams 3 games over or 3 games under against spread. Everybody else is in the middle, more than half the league, which sort of goes to what my whole take on the league is right now. You can use the different phrases. You can use week to week, right? You can use their coin flip, or my third favorite is who the fuck knows, right? And that's like the majority of the league.
Bills, Chiefs, Eagles look like they're better than everybody else, and that's about it. Everybody else on the road, I would never trust to win a game.
Right, so you wouldn't trust Miami.
On the road. Like I said, if you put these teams on the road against, let's think about who, like mediocre teams, New Orleans, would you trust, like a team like New Orleans, or a team, I don't know or Cleveland. I wouldn't trust anybody but those 3 teams to win in Cleveland or in New Orleans. If you can't be trusted to win in Cleveland or New Orleans, you're not very good.
Baltimore,
because of Lamar, because of Harbaugh, I put as a half step above the rest. But I mean,
right, because they're 6-3.
They also have a mind-boggling statistic.
Right.
They've been leading at the half by more than 10 points in all 9 games. Every other team besides them that have ever done it has gone 9-0. One team went 8-1. They have the ability to separate.
They've blown a 21-point fourth-quarter lead to Miami.
Yeah.
They've blown a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter and a 10-point lead, and those are their 3 losses.
Yeah.
Having said that, I don't know that I trust them entirely because they have no receivers. And while the young tight end likely has played well because Mark Andrews has been hurt, when your go-to is a tight end, I'm a little wary. I agree. Lamar can take over a game.
Lamar is running the ball 80, 100. Baltimore
he can
runs
take over. I know.
They run for 150 yards a game. They can do it with Lamar. He can throw a little bit.
He's a better passer than most people give him credit for. I'm not a naysayer.
They're the real deal.
All right, but that's it. Like, I don't trust the Vikings.
No.
I'm on the fence of trusting my Cowboys.
Oh, no way.
Why? They play an incredible defense, and they get to the opposing quarterback. And now that Dak's back, and they're starting to unleash Pollard a little more. Their wide receiver core is okay, but they're a good team. But again, to your point, do I trust them on the? This is going to be a good test against a downtrodden. Everybody's down on the Packers.
Yeah,
we'll get to that game in a bit.
That's a tough spot.
The other thing I want to look at midseason that is really interesting is the totals.
Okay, unders. 60%.
Do you know that only 7 teams have gone over the total more than under?
Oh.
Only 7 in the whole league. Okay? And only 3 teams are more than 1 game over 500 in that scenario. You understand? Of the teams that have more overs than unders.
I hear you.
Unders is a totally different story. The Colts are 8-1 under. The Bills, with their great offense, 7-1 under. Denver, 7-1 under. Giants, 1-6-1. Like 1 over, 6 unders, and a push. I mean, the whole league is going under. And so before we get to our picks, let's get to those numbers. Dogs again last week, my friend. Couple of pushes, last week.
Yeah, 3-point spreads where the favorites won.
7-4-2 for the Dogs against the spread. They're at over 57% on the season. The home Dogs were big time. Remember, I told you they were 8 last week. 5-2-1, over 56% on the season. And the unders dominated. 9-4. Remember, there were 6 bye teams last week, so only 13 games. 9-4 to the under. The unders lead, they are almost at 60%. Is there a correction coming? Because you look at the totals now, there's like no 50s.
Yeah, they're dropping. They're adjusting.
Right? I mean, obviously the odds makers know this.
Yeah,
they're not
of course
dumb.
They know that. I mean, listen, as long as bettors are willing to bet overs, they don't really care. But there's enough sharps on the unders. They lower them every week by a point or two till it kind of gets to the right number or closer to it. I mean, yeah.
But do you think are we going to see a week
of overs?
Where there's
of course,
a 10 or 11?
Yeah, and everybody will get all excited and the books will cry and pretend.
We haven't seen one week like that yet. Not a single week where the overs were in double digits, or even maybe 9 one week, but I don't think so.
It'll happen.
You agree?
Of course.
The question is, how can you predict it?
No, you can't, but it'll just happen.
You don't have a crystal ball for that?
No, if I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't be doing this show with you.
That's true. All right. Let's get to the slate for this week. 7 early 1 o'clock Eastern kickoffs. 2 games stood out for me. We'll see if you have a pick on either. Or you're going to choose something else. It's the surprising.
I'm guessing I'm going to pick something else, but go.
It's the surprising 6-3 Seattle Seahawks at Tampa to take on the suddenly alive 4-5 Buccaneers. Bucks are a 2.5-point favorite. Totals 44.5. It's 4 straight wins for Geno Smith in Seattle. And did you see the end of the Bucks game?
Yeah, the Rams are. Yeah,
Rams couldn't go forward.
I know
they couldn't get a first down in the fourth quarter. It was embarrassing.
And they needed 1 first down at the end to end it. They gave Brady time. Yeah, it was not well played.
Anyway, they found a way to win that defensive slog at home to the defending Super Bowl champion Rams. Anything on that one?
I heard Giselle sent a text to Tom that said, "You're less than 3 points at home to the pathetic Seahawks. That's why I divorced your ass." But other than that, I got nothing for you on that one.
They're certainly not pathetic at the moment. You want to retract that?
I mean,
They're
the
6-3.
Seahawks-
They've
okay.
won 4 straight. How can you call them pathetic?
I mean, the Brady's sub-3 at home to them. That's pretty sad for him.
But the performance to date justifies that number. The other game is the obvious one, the best matchup, arguably, of the weekend. The 7-1 Minnesota Vikings at Buffalo to take on the banged-up 6-2 Bills. The Bills are currently 3.5-point favorite. Totals 43. Josh Allen's status is unknown at the moment with the elbow injury.
Yeah, that line's not going to be 3.5.
If he's healthy.
It's either going to be 1 or 7 come closer to game time, whether or not Josh Allen plays. It's an interesting line. It's kind of in between because he's kind of questionable. Or it's an injured Allen. That's the line with an injured Allen, pretty much.
Before you tell me if you have a pick on this one, in case you didn't know,
is playing his former team.
In case you didn't know, play on words on the Play On podcast. Case Keenum would be the starter, and he's a very capable backup. That was a good signing by Buffalo when they lost Trubisky. Meanwhile, the Vikings have won 6 straight, most of them close.
Yeah, that's very tight
few
games.
blowouts.
Yeah.
I mean, they scored the last 13 to beat Washington last week in Washington.
And got an interception with the coolest. Do you see the bowling celebration?
No, I didn't see that.
They had all the defenders kind of like, and
he bowled and they all fell. I've seen that before.
Oh, I haven't.
The Bills lost
that was
the Jets, and it was really because Josh Allen, his credit,
said he sucked. Yeah,
absolutely.
Good for him. I agree. He was awesome. You can't win in the NFL if your quarterback sucks. That was pretty much his comment.
And he had a couple bad picks and just didn't have a good day.
No, he didn't.
And they lost 20-17. The other 2 games we talked a little bit about with Teddy. The Dolphins-Browns, Finn's only favored by 3.5. That stood out for me. And the other game he mentioned, Pros versus Joes, Titans hosting Broncos with a very short spread for the Titans. So I'm giving you 4 options.
Tannehill's not playing, probably.
We don't know about Tannehill at this point.
He's banged up at best. He's banged up, and I mean, the line reflects that. I mean, the Titans saw me. Tannehill might be okay, but they had a major drop. That rookie wasn't.
Willis threw for 60 yards in that game against the Chiefs.
He couldn't do anything.
Okay. So I gave you 4 choices out of 7.
Yeah, I'm passing on all 4. I knew there was no chance you would get my bet. You could
because it's a dog game and you're taking a dog.
You could pick 2 more games. You still won't get my game. I'm actually taking a favorite.
Oh.
We're going to zigzag.
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and it's the same scenario as last week. The Saints are a middle-of-the-pack team with a plus-minus of around 0. They just lost bad on Monday Night Football, prime time. They're playing the Steelers, who suck.
The Steelers are coming off their bye.
They're coming off a bye, but they're a whopping minus 77 in point differential. And check this out. The Steelers haven't gotten a touchdown of at least 10 yards all year. Wow. They have 0 firepower. They stink. The Saints are only -2 or less than the big 3 on the road against an inferior Steelers team. It's the same scenario. I like Baltimore as the better team last week, sub-3, because I thought the Saints were inflated after their crushing. Now the Saints are being disrespected because they just looked bad on Monday Night Football. They're playing. The Ravens are a whole different class than the Steelers. The Steelers are garbage.
Oh, there's no question.
Steelers are garbage. I like New Orleans. I think they're a tad underrated. In Pittsburgh, I'm risking 1.07 units to win a unit on the Saints.
Do we know if Lattimore is going to play for the Saints? Because that's big. Because while you say they lack firepower, the Steelers, and I don't disagree, they actually have pretty good wide receivers. The issue has been quarterback getting them the ball, right? Deontay Johnson and the rookie Pickens, right?
It's kind of like an issue. It doesn't matter who your receivers are. If your quarterback can't throw the football, it doesn't matter.
Again, I'm not disagreeing. They have shown nothing this year on offense for the most part.
Yeah, Jerry Rice and Randy Moss in their prime could line up for the Steelers, and still they throw the ball 10 yards out of bounds.
Kenny Pickett, we don't know what he is at this point. Trubisky has had like one good half when he came in when Pickett got hurt, remember?
Yeah, with no pressure and didn't know what was going on.
All right, so just the one pick on the early games?
Just the one pick on the early games.
Let's go late in prime time. 4:05/4:25 kickoffs. The 4:25, my Dallas Cowboys take their 6-2 record off a bye.
Into Lambeau.
Take on the 3-6 Packers. And the Cowboys were 5. They're now a 4.5-point favorite. The total's 43. As I mentioned, the boys are coming off the bye in that big win over the Bears at home 2 weeks ago. The Pack have lost 5 straight. Aaron Rodgers was brutal last week. 3 picks. 2 of them were pretty bad.
Yeah.
He's just completely out of sorts. But I'm going to guess, I don't have the numbers. Rodgers hasn't been a home dog very often. And if he has been by more than a field goal, it's pretty rare.
Way. He hasn't. He probably hasn't started a game as a home dog of more than 3 points ever.
The other 2 games are Colts at Raiders in the Jeff Saturday debut as head coach, or Cards at Rams. Either any of those 3 excite you before we get to the prime timers?
Yeah, I'm on the Colts.
Really?
They got a bad quarterback and a brand new head coach, and I don't care. I'm taking them plus 210 to upset the Raiders, risking a half a unit
money line
to win 1.05 units. This is a play purely against the Raiders. They're only 2-6, the Raiders. The only 2 teams they beat stink, Houston and Denver. I don't understand how anyone can say with confidence that the Raiders can win an NFL game almost 70% of the time.
As a 6-point favorite.
Well, that's what the money line translates
Just
into.
clarifying for the newbies out there.
If the Colts win this game a third of the time, it's a good value bet. And I don't understand how you could be confident in this Raiders team beating any NFL team 2/3 of the time, let alone a team like the Colts that play, like you said, low scoring, close games. I'm going to take Saturday. I'm going to take their new quarterback. It just seems tough for the Raiders. I just don't trust the Raiders.
All right, let's go prime time.
Okay.
The LA Chargers, I know you would call them San Diego.
Yeah.
They're 5-3.
Diego and the
Good
Niners.
game Sunday night. Yeah, they're at San Fran to take on the 4-4 Niners.
Super Bowl rematch. Remember that Super Bowl where the Niners were like
that Super Bowl.
Oh, were you? That was a good
in
one,
Miami.
right? The Niners were like a 17-point favorite,
and they covered.
And they covered. They won by like 24.
You know,
Good times.
Remember the coach and quarterback were for the Chargers? This will test your.
Oh man, the quarterback was it Stan Humphries?
Yes, well done. And the coach
was
former college coach in the state of Georgia, but not a Bulldog.
No,
Bobby Ross was the coach.
Bobby Ross, that's right. Yeah. That Diego team was.
That was Steve Young getting his ring.
Yes, with the monkey off his back and that thing, and Rice was awesome. Yeah.
I was at that game. I was actually at the 49ers post-game party.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, well, I was working.
Oh, okay.
At the time, I was covering that Super Bowl, and it was a bit of a disappointing game. It rained during the game, too.
Yeah, I remember it rained also, and they still covered that.
Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, that's the primetime Sunday night game. The Niners are like a 7-point favorite.
The Bolts, I'll come back to the spread. The Bolts won on a last-play field goal by a kicker named Dicker. I'm not making that up.
That's a good name.
Who they signed 3 days before.
That's a good name for a kicker.
Right?
Yeah.
2 field goals in the fourth quarter. They win on the last play. Niners coming off the bye and the McCaffrey explosion game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ran, caught, threw for a touchdown pass in his second game. Niners are a touchdown favorite, converted 7. 45 is the total. You have any thoughts on this one?
I would lean Diego. I think they're
such a screw. They're still the screwy Chargers.
I understand, but you're getting big money. I would maybe money line them, but I don't have a play. That's a pass.
Okay. Which brings us to Monday night, divisional battle, NFC East. These teams have already played once this year. I believe it was week 3. 4-5 Washington Commanders at the unbeaten 8-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are an 11-point favorite. That's up from a few hours ago. It was 10.5. The total's 44. The Commanders gave up the last 13 points in the fourth quarter, lost at home to the Vikings 20-17. Eagles, if you recall, started uncharacteristically slow last Thursday at Houston. They got it done late, but they didn't cover as a big 13.5, 14-point favorite. Do you have a thought on this one?
No, the Eagles are better. The line's high. Maybe Washington keeps it close. Maybe there's backdoor covers.
Not even a lean, though.
Okay. Not really.
All right. We'll get to the Thursday nighter in a few, but right now it's time to welcome the very clean-shaven.
Yeah, he looks like a kid. He got carded on his way in here, I bet.
Oh, he's got the Movember going, though, and we're speaking specifically, as I'll turn my chair and talk directly to Corey Travers, the head trader at PointsBet Canada. So, how are you, Corey?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Movember's growing in nice.
I've got a sad Movember for someone in their 30s, but whatever.
He looks like the hockey players. You know, like when Marner tries to grow a playoff beard and it's like you see 3 whiskers?
Yeah.
I think it's the lighting.
Oh, no. He's got a stash
He's
going
got something.
there.
We'll see. Well, actually, he's
I
only
mean, we're
November
both
10th.
bearded guys.
We'll give him a couple. Let's fly. You know what? I'm going to fly U.S. Thanksgiving in 2 weeks from
You
now.
figure it'll be a real...
That's what we'll see.
A real man.
He'll be eating wings. He'll get like wings and sauce caught in his stash. That's what I look forward to.
That's the name of a bet for that week.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of, we always start with name a bet. Harley gave you, for the first time in a while, a non-cross sport name a bet,
That's true.
but it's cross games, right? It's the Sunday nighter and the Monday nighter that we just referred to.
Yep.
And it's which team will score the most points, right? Individually.
Yeah.
So it's a four options.
We do. So obviously the 2 favorites here, we've got like an 11-point game and a 7-point game. And we've got a 45-point line, total line, and a 44-point total line.
So the favorites are the Eagles and the Niners?
Exactly, yeah. So they're up there. The Eagles are the bigger favorite, so they are the favorite in the market. I have them at plus 150, and then I have the 49ers at, I believe, plus 170. And then the Chargers come in, I want to say, here, I've got it on my phone. I believe it's something like plus 400 or something like that.
Ooh.
4.5 to 1. Well, they got to beat the Niners, and they got to score more points than the Eagles. It's a tough task, dude.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
But I would certainly look at them over the Commanders, who
Commanders
are
come in last. I can't remember exactly what I priced them. They're long. They're long odds.
7 plus
Something like that,
700 or something like that.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
6.5 to 1, and the Chargers are 4.25 to 1.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they're all plus money, you could flip a coin there, maybe between the Eagles and Niners.
Yeah, it's a fun bet depending on who you like more to win it, and then kind of go
And
with
the
it.
Commanders' defense has been playing a lot better. So to me, yeah, if I'm going to take a roll, it would be the Chargers. It's not an official play, just to be clear. All right. Before I
You
forget,
could bet a unit on the Chargers, and if you won it, you'd be about even for the year. You could make back your 4 units. So
are you
and be up a few cents.
Are you recommending that play?
Not for you. I
okay.
mean,
Okay. Just so, yeah.
Or a
Okay.
person.
For
Somebody.
an unknown person of age in Ontario.
who's stuck 4.07 units year to date.
Okay. So before I forget, for next week,
Yep.
I want to know what the handle is on tonight's dog of a game,
Yeah.
Atlanta, Carolina.
Versus the Argos. Versus the Argos.
No.
playoffs. Come on.
Leave the Argos for a moment. I'll get to them. But versus like the hockey slate tonight in the NBA, like I want to know when it's just a dog shit game like tonight,
It'll
how
crush.
the handle.
It'll
Because
crush
we
it.
always know the NFL's king, right?
The NFL is king, I think.
But
like,
I want to know, like,
Yeah.
when you have a real dog like this, how? So just that's something to put away.
we'll see, but if I'm pricing it right now, I'm still saying the NFL game is the
Okay.
favorite.
Especially with no,
Yeah.
especially with no Leafs and
Or
Raps, it's
Raptors.
going to crush it.
Right.
It'd be more interesting. I'd like to know if it was the worst NFL game ever, and the Raps were playing in prime time, like versus Greek Freak and something like that, and even then the NFL would crush it.
I don't disagree. I just want to, I'm just,
How much? How badly?
Exactly.
How badly? Like
I'll
this is
include
like
the Argos in there. for
Okay, no.
reference as well.
I want to ask about that. But
Yeah.
so we're at the midpoint of the NFL season.
Okay, yeah.
Scoring's down. Real parity happening in the league. To me, that's a formula for success for the books.
Yeah, I would say so.
So midway, we're at unofficial midway point. Would you say it's been a good season thus far for the book?
I would say it's been a good, any year where there's not a handful of teams who just dominate and kind of do, like, when there's an Alabama, the way that Alabama or a Georgia in college football just covers, it seems, every spread. Now, that's not really the case this year for Alabama. It's a bad example. But when there's teams like that in the NFL who just like clockwork end up covering all their games, that's a tough year. But when like no one really knows who's the best couple teams, I mean, I think the Bills are still. I mean, the odds would say the Bills are still the best team.
Yet they've gone under the total in 7 of their 8 games.
There we go. That's a stat I did not know until I came on this podcast. So yeah, there we go.
You learn a lot. We're trying to educate you, Corey.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. You've mentioned the Argos twice. You mentioned. So it's the CFL divisional finals this weekend for spots in the Grey Cup a week from now.
Yeah.
Do you get any CFL action? And adding to that, do you expect to see any kind of action for this weekend?
Like the answer is yes, if we're being literal. But like it's not nearly on the same level as obviously the NFL, but even
But
like
how
the
about
NHL,
a random NHL game?
Random NHL games are gonna outperform it for the most part. I mean, certainly a Leafs game. I mean,
That's why I didn't say
absolute
Leafs.
random,
Okay,
yeah.
let me ask you this question. Sunday at 1 o'clock, there's 7 NFL games going on, plus the Argos.
yeah.
We talked about the Saints.
By the way, it's Argos hosting the Alouettes.
And they're a 3.5-point favorite. You can bet either side on PointsBet.
Here at BMO, yeah.
I had a pick. I like the Saints to beat the Steelers. That's probably the ugliest of ugly 1 o'clock NFL games.
Yeah.
How does that ugliest of ugliest when there's 7 NFL games do versus the Argos at home, only CFL game on TSN for the Grey Cup? What's getting more betting action?
Like we will see, but it'll be the NFL game.
That NFL
Yeah.
game. Even with
What,
6,
the worst of the 1
worst
o'clock.
of the lowest.
I don't
Yeah.
think an NFL game will see less than
Right.
than
Even
East
though it's
Final.
competing with 6 other NFL games,
Yeah.
it's the worst. And this is the Argos in the Eastern Conference Finals. You still won't see betting handle.
I mean, I could be wrong. People
Yeah.
listening to this podcast could still go out and try to prove me wrong.
Yeah,
by
prove
betting a
you
ton
wrong.
on the Argos,
Correct.
but I'm not betting on it.
Send
And
Corey
by the
home
way-
in his
and by the
tears,
way-
hammering the CFL.
And we should also add that it's BC at Winnipeg in the West
There we go,
Final.
yeah.
And the line?
4.5 for Winnipeg. Winnipeg is the class of the league. The Western Conference is the class over the Eastern Conference. Our producer is cheering for the Bombers. I think he's from. Are you from the Peg?
We've got a healthy Nathan Rourke for
Yeah.
BC. That's going to be interesting.
A Canadian quarterback who
Yeah.
unfortunately got hurt. He was lighting up.
They were
the
talking about him
league,
going to the NFL.
but he was lighting it up.
I know.
And then he got hurt, but now he's back.
Yeah.
And he's a good story.
His brother had a big game against Miami, Ohio on Thursday. Or no, today's Thursday.
He's a
Wednesday,
college-
the Maction.
Yeah, the Maction
Tuesday,
is playing
Tuesday.
now. They announced just Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's it. College football, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
There's pretty much football 7 days a week now. All right, before we let you go, we have to ask you about tonight. Falcons at Panthers. These teams played just 2 weeks ago, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But anything stand out in terms of early action or
We see a
props
lot on, I mean, as far as props, I mean, the usual suspects, you'll see Cordell Patterson bets and stuff like that. There's a lot more money that we're seeing right now, and this is across all jurisdictions. I'd imagine this is the same for most books on the Falcons, and that applies to both the money line and the spread.
Yeah, well, the Panthers were. I mean, they got.
But you still dropped the line. It was Atlanta 3, and now it's
It's now
2.5,
2.5
right?
Atlanta.
So yeah,
But it was 2.5 yesterday.
Yeah, the books seem pretty happy with the Atlanta action. We'll get to that when we discuss my same game parlay.
Okay, so nothing really standing out other than early Atlanta action.
That's what we got, yeah, early Atlanta.
They got the better record. If anybody was
They
on
look-
Carolina
They
last
look
week,
like
right?
a competent NFL team.
Yeah,
Carolina's
they do.
quarterback looks like he's even worse than the Titans guy.
Ooh, but there was a Baker Mayfield sighting last week. You know that. He came in the second half and got the 2 garbage touchdowns late. Anyway. All right, Corey. Thank you for the time and knowledge, as we say to all our guests.
Always a pleasure,
And
guys.
good luck growing.
Thank you. Hopefully it's more noticeable on camera next week.
Enjoy.
See ya.
All right, let's get to the Thursday nighter.
Yeah.
That's an 8:15 Eastern time kickoff.
Yep.
4-5 Hotlanta Falcons at Carolina take on the 2-7 Panthers, who, if they were a real Panther, would roar, but they're not much more than a meow
like a meow
right
at
now.
best, a little meow.
Divisional matchup in the AFC South.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, they played 2 weeks ago. That was when DJ Moore took off his helmet,
Yeah, that cost him a game.
if they could make the extra point. Meanwhile, the Falcons coughed up a late lead at home and lost to the Chargers. And the Panthers, I mean, they got obliterated at Cincy. The final score, I think, was 42-21.
No, they were losing by like 5 touchdowns.
It was
at half.
42.
Mixon was awesome.
It was a complete and utter dismantling. Well, you usually have a same game parlay for us on a Thursday night.
I got to take.
Okay.
So we got rain from the hurricane.
Yes. That is hitting that part of the United States. Yes.
On top of that, winning on the road is tough in the NFL, especially when you're the Falcons and you're not very good. I'm going against Atlanta. They're a mediocre team. They got to travel and win on a short week. It's a tough ask. So my same game parlay is Carolina plus 2.5 and under the 41.5 total points. And that Falcons quarterback Marcus Mariota does not throw any touchdown passes.
He has not thrown a lot this year. He threw for 129 yards last week.
Pretty sad. I'm getting
no
plus 4
TD passes. Yeah,
I'm getting plus 4.
So that's like under a half. Is that what it is? Or
it's a half.
Yeah,
I'm getting plus 4.75 on the parlay.
Oh, so it's just a 3-legger.
Yeah, I'm risking a quarter unit to win 1.19 units.
So what's the actual odds on the parlay? You said
plus 475.
Plus 475, and you're going a 3-legger this week.
3-legger.
Okay. All right. So before we go, anything else from NBA, NHL, college football for this week?
I got comments on all. I have no bet in the NHL. It's a great slate tonight. There's 10 games. Only the Coyotes and Blackhawks are more than 2-1 dogs. So 8 of the 10 games are close matchups. If you like the NHL, enjoy it. In the NBA, there are 4 games tonight. I was actually eyeing Portland. Lillard was a late scratch. He's worth almost 4 points to the spread, which is huge. We talked about the Siakam. Siakam was worth closer to 3.5. So, I mean, if Siakam's a top 5 player, I guess so is Lillard and God knows how many other superstars. If anybody has inside information or a feel for when stars are expected to rest, that is huge for the line in the NBA star-studded league. If you can figure that stuff out or you got a good feel for it, take advantage of and bet it. I do have a college football bet.
All right.
We discussed this. I'm taking Arkansas plus 3.5 as a home dog to LSU.
It's the old letdown, right?
I'm risking 1.1 units to win a unit. We discussed this earlier. LSU just won the Super Bowl. They upset Bama at home. The crowd went crazy. There's nobody on that team that's focused on Arkansas. They've been partying all week. They've been getting girls like they never got in their life. Boosters, alumni deals, you name it.
And
it's
if I recall, Arkansas is not a bad squad, right?
Arkansas is not a bad squad. It's a good spot for Arkansas, plus 3.5, risking 1.1 to win a unit.
That's it?
That's all I got.
So
before I do my betting summary, though, you got to remind listeners.
Oh, you're so good.
I'm on top of your job.
You're
I don't
so
even
good.
need a paper and pen. I got it all up here and on my laptop.
You just stole my thunder. I was going to transition off of, before we recap your plays.
There you go. Well, I was ahead of you with it.
PointsBet wants you to enjoy your gambling experience, but if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call the Connects Ontario helpline at 1-866-531-2600 or message PointsBet's amazing customer support, and they will help you personally. You can hear there's a lot of action going on here at the bottom line. We said earlier it's a private event, but people are yelling and screaming, so I hope you can all hear us.
Charity poker for the kids. No kids playing.
I think it was the Bay Street Children's Foundation or something along those lines, which I'm sure is a very worthy cause, and I'm not saying that sarcastically or any other way, but it is a very good cause. Whenever you're helping out kids and you get to gamble, for
get
fun,
to play poker on top of eating chicken wings and drinking beer
and maybe having a chicken club
football at the bottom line. Charity poker. Wow.
Recap your picks so we can be on our merry way.
I entered the week up 0.16 units to date. In tonight's NFL game, I'm taking a same game parlay of Carolina plus 2.5 and under 41.5 total points. And the Falcons quarterback Marcus Mariota does not throw any touchdown passes, and I'm getting plus 475, risking a quarter unit to win 1.19 units. On Saturday, I'm taking Arkansas plus 3.5 in college over LSU, risking 1.1 units to win a unit in the classic letdown situation for LSU after their upset of Alabama. On Sunday, I got the Saints -2 at Pittsburgh, risking 1.07 units to win a unit. I'm laying less than 3. The Saints are a decent team, and Pittsburgh is absolutely at the bottom of the league. And Sunday, 4 p.m., I got the Colts plus 210 on the money line, risking a half a unit to win 1.05 units. Saturday is coming from the ESPN studio to Vegas, and he's going to win it. Or I think he's at least got a shot. I think the Raiders stink also. Worth it at plus 210. Those are the bets.
So just quick shout out to my nephew, Jake. It's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Jake.
He's a Colts fan.
He's a Colts fan.
And he's going to the game in Vegas this weekend as a 21st birthday present.
That's
so
a cool
he's going to
21st
love
birthday present.
your
And
pick.
Saturday he'll deliver for him. Or he'll just get so hammered in Vegas Saturday night, he'll be hungover and won't even show up for the game on Sunday.
He's now legal in all jurisdictions. 21st, right? So just quick shout out. We don't do that often, but when you made that Colts pick, I had to give the shout out.
Okay, now you put me in a tough spot. It's my niece Reese's bar mitzvah this weekend, and I was never going to say anything on the show, but you tied it into football, and then she'd kill me if I didn't say something.
Okay, so there you go. There's your shout
by
out.
Jewish standards, she's now a woman, so she could bet. But she's only 12, and we are not encouraging underage gambling here. That is wrong. So she's got to wait. What's the age in Ontario? 18 or 19?
19.
It's 19 to drink.
19.
Is it 19?
Yes,
or
19 to drink and gamble.
It's either 18 or 19 anyway.
It's 19.
Reese has
me.
at least a half dozen years to go.
All right. We got our shout outs out of the way. We don't do that often, I was going to make it very quick, but your Colts pick was too.
Colts
I know, come on.
Saturday, but it's on. Saturday wins on Sunday. That's the headline.
Next week, we'll be talking more NFL. We might even talk a little bit about the Grey Cup, maybe some NHL, NBA. I want you to make a play on the Grey Cup of some sort.
We're actually going to be doing something a little more important than that, I believe.
Next week?
Yeah.
World Cup
preview, right?
There you go.
Doesn't it start?
I was just testing you.
Yeah. World Cup preview. It's going to be underway because Canada's first game is November 23rd. I think it starts November 20th.
20th, yeah.
So next week, we got to talk about the Grey Cup because according to Corey, like 11 people in all of Canada might be betting on it. But the World Cup will get a lot of action for sure, and I'm curious to hear from him.
World Cup. NFL, week number
basketball,
11.
hockey.
On the way out.
Shout-outs.
Thank yous. It's time for thank yous. We did our shout-outs.
We got to thank Jordan.
We are thanking...
Who came in injured.
Our injured producer, Jordan LaRoche, came in so that our sub-in producer...
who's also like the head honcho here in charge of everything.
Carrie Goulet, spinning the dials today. And Jordan, we thank both of them. Our great hosts at the bottom line. We say it each and every week. Come down, check it out. Just not tonight because there's a private event. But say hi. We hang out sometimes after the show. And we start at 5:10 and usually finish about 50 minutes to an hour later. We're going a little over today. We want to thank our great sponsor, PointsBet Canada. We thank Corey Travers, the head trader at PointsBet Canada, and Teddy Greenstein, the senior editor and player development manager and the head man at the Hustle newsletter at PointsBet USA. Remember.
What about Seb, the social guy?
I'll get to Seb.
No, you weren't going to mention him. Seb, he wasn't going to mention him.
Seb's on hand, social media manager at PointsBet Canada. I think he stiffed us last week. He didn't stiff us.
Yeah, he did. What was his excuse?
He was sick. Oh, yeah.
Nowadays, you could get out of anything, right? Out of an abundance of caution, I've decided that I got a sniffle, so I'm not going to work ever again.
We thank you for listening and watching. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe. Reach out to either one of us on Twitter, at Jorey Middle, at Sharp Edge Picks. Email us, playon@pointsbet.ca. And again, if you're 19 or older, you're in Ontario, open up your PointsBet Canada account and play responsibly. For the professional Harley, I'm Jorey. May all your picks be winners, ours too. We will talk to you next week. Grey Cup, World Cup, NFL, another edition of Play On with Jorey and Harley, powered by PointsBet. Enjoy, folks.
Take care, Jorey. Have a good one.
Good show.
We good?
Good
Yeah, that was good. It
show.
was fun.
Really fun.